Hi guys. Good to see y'all again. I'm excited for this one. I'm gonna get on the page and make sure this gets shared out. So as you guys hop on, say hello. A fun little filter going on here. We were picking that out beforehand just so we could like have a little bit more fun with this. So as you hop on, say hello, invite some friends. Hey Candy. So this is gonna be a fun one. I'm excited with I think like some really great messages in it as well. Intentional Intuitive Entrepreneur Group. There we go. Hey Laura. I'm just making sure this gets shared, so that's what I'm doing on my laptop for a second here. I'm glad you guys are here. This will be a really, really cute one for everyone, and with a great message overall, you know. So, Candy, I love all your emojis. Those are fun. Okay, so I just heard greetings, loved ones, like kind of like greetings, earthlings. So we picked out a fun filter for a minute, but I'm gonna turn this off here in a second. Yeah, so this is gonna be a great little session with John Lennon. He is excited to chat with everyone. There we go. To chat with everyone and give his spiritual perspective on walking the path of peace and living a good life of ease, joy, and he's saying like true love, true courtship with life. Like really, really like, and I've been hearing songs like about love all morning, like all you need is love, of course, came up. But I was hearing some other ones too. People all over the world, join hands, like in my head all morning. I was like, oh man, we're really getting into that vibe today, huh? So I don't know if anyone else has been feeling like a little bit of this like energy just over the last couple of days, just lifted finally, but I definitely have been feeling it myself. Been outside a ton. So he's saying, all right, I'm ready to get cooking over here. He's saying, in my life is John Lennon. He's saying he was quite a rebel. Like he was like was the rebellious son for quite a while, especially after my mom died. He's saying for quite a while after my mom died, after me mom died, I found myself running around with like kind of like running wild, like running around with some heathens is what he's saying. They were my mates, my best mates. And I found a lot of happiness. They made me happy. It made me happy to run wild, run free. He said in school he was kind of a tosser. Like it was kind of like he was a tosser. He's saying he's saying don't get your knickers in a twist trying to do the accent. So he's saying he said, you know, school was really all reading, writing, arithmetic, which I was good at, but oh my god, some of the phrases coming out, I'm like, jeez. Okay. He said I had a jolly good time running around with me mates, and that's like all he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do. So he's saying walking the path of peace was for me about peacefully letting myself live in the life I love, and the lap of luxury was not it. Like he came into quite some fortune, and he's sitting here, he's kind of like smoking a cigarette, like he's just kind of showing himself in like a really comfortable home, smoking a joint. And he's saying Yoko Ono was the best thing that ever happened to me. She brought the path of peace and prosperity to my life. She was not responsible for breaking up the Beatles in such a dramatic way as many people he's saying like a lot of people give her a lot of smack for that. He's saying that wasn't actually the case. He's saying she was quite a rebel too, but she brought the path of peace into my life and helped me choose love and happiness. I was feeling a lot of energy, and he goes, the Kundalini energy, it's strong today, so just breathe through it, Allison. I was hearing that. So he's, because I'm feeling like my spine is like, whoo. He's saying the energy is rising, so he's like, he's showing like it's going like this, and he's got like a glass. He's always saying to me, drink my water. So give me a second here while this energy kind of settles. He's like playing, he's like, tally ho. He's like really playing up the, he's like, she loves the Brits, so he's like making fun of it. He's saying all these things in like British accents, or like these British sayings, like I'm like, I can't even get them all through because they're coming so fast. He was saying like, let's have a jolly good time. Like, let's have a jolly good time. So he's saying, so again, in my life as John Lennon, earlier on, he's showing me like earlier timeline, like teens into 20s. And for a good portion of that time, he was kind of like a troublemaker, a little bit of a rebel. I had viewpoints that were quite popular among the rebellious youth. Like he's talking about the peace and love communities. You know, the Western civilization was not so into the hippie commune communities, but he's talking about it, and nor were the Brits in a lot of ways. Like they were like, let's go to war. He's talking about, he was very much about peace and love, especially after Yoko Ono came into my life, is what he's saying. She brought a lot of peace, love, and he's saying like prosperity, but like inner prosperity. He's like, he's doing this with his heart, like she was really close to his heart. And he's showing them having like just standing together, just kind of holding each other like up to the elbows, like holding onto each other's arms like this, like just standing together and just really like touching each other's faces and talking. And he's saying we had quite the closeness. And so he's saying, you know, he's showing me like that younger timeline was, he's saying my youth was not one for the history book. So he's kind of like making that joke because he became John Lennon. He was in the Beatles. He said the Beatles, the Beatles were me mates. Like they became me mates. They were the closest tossers you could have ever tossed together. Like you could ever put together. He's a bunch of tossers. Like they were kind of like rebels, like running wild. And that rebellious youth led us to form the Beatles, and to form, he's saying Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That particular album really came from, and that music came from this pouring forth of this rebellious youth, kind of coming to odds with itself, like learning to be to coexist with peace. So he said many noticed a deep transition in the music at that time. Like the music really evolved in that album, and I've kind of thought, my dad has said something about that, I've thought about that too, where it was clear that, you know, the collective conscious at that time was influencing the music, and we were also picking up on the consciousness evolution that was happening at that time. You know, going to war. He's talking about Vietnam coming. There was this rebellious youth that really was rebelling against old systems, old paradigms, old ways of being and living and thinking. Being true to yourself was very important to us as the Beatles. That's why we wrote about songs about love, rebellion, drugs, sex, rock and roll. Rock and roll is really about the youth being true to itself. It's really about love coming forth he said it can feel less than loving. Like it can be like rebellious. They keep saying rebellious. He's really talking about like being the rebels. He's saying, but we came to a peaceful understanding with ourselves that our music had evolved and changed, and it was safe to lead from that feeling of wanting more peace and youthful prosperity. He's saying like youthful peace, youthful prosperity. So not like complacency. He said complacency is quite the conundrum, because people want peace and prosperity, yet the youth loves rebelliousness, because the youthful side of us wants change, it wants evolution, it wants peace in the process of evolution, it wants creativity, it wants expression, it wants vitality. So if you want peace in the process, he's saying, let the music of your heart sing a happy tune, like sing the song of your soul. So allow the music to burst forth from you in a way that feels really good, Allison, is what there's a couple of beings here who are like, let it like burst forth. So they're singing, I'm hearing that song, All You Need Is Love again. And I'm hearing, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. So it was kind of like that. He's kind of like giving like that vibe around it. And he's saying that song was very much written about loving what is. And he said that is finding peace in the process of life. Loving life as life itself is the essence of peace. And so he's saying Yoko Ono really brought me peace. Like she really brought him a lot of peace. She brought a lot of light to my life, a lot of love to my life. He's saying mellowed me out a little bit. She like mellowed him out a little bit. And peace talks, like they started to go to peace talks, protests, rallies, things like that together. They became more involved in those types of things together, where they were seen together, really igniting a new way. And the new way was very much about, down with the man, removing the old ways of being that were very militaristic, very, waging war. Like, and they're saying it was like a war on violence. A war on war, but a peaceful protest against those wars. And he's saying like the war machine that was training our youth to become soldiers. That's so interesting. He's saying in essence, they were training our youth to become soldiers and anarchists against love. He's like, that's the real anarchy, to be in opposition to love and your own inner calling. Because if you're if you're not serving the war machine, you're not serving the federal government, then who are you serving to the government, right? Well, you're serving yourself. If you're choosing yourself, he said, he's like, tell him, Allison, like allow yourself to be happy, like allow yourself to follow your own inner calling, your own happiness, your own joy. He's saying so many of you are indoctrinated into belief systems which propel you out against your own inner knowing, he's saying you would call it intuition, your own sense of what's right for you. And he's saying right as in it feels good, it feels fun, that many of you just go through the motions of life. Even those of you who are entrepreneurs, who own businesses, you don't set up your schedules. Like he said, like Allison's, because I very much let my schedule unfold very naturally. And I can tell when I'm going against what feels good for me, because I feel it in my body. I feel the anxiety, I feel the frustration around it. So he's saying many of you don't allow yourselves to go with the flow. You do things aimlessly, not needing to do them, just thinking about, he said the joie de vivre, like the joys of life, or the sweetness of doing nothing, is something that we talked about in a previous one. He's like pulling that back up. He's saying that's the peace. You can have peace and prosperity. You can have peace in the process. Many of you do not think of calling on love or letting love reign supreme, like letting love be the ruler of your kingdom, your queendom, your kingdom. He's saying queens, kings, same thing. He's saying love ignites the way, and love is the way, and love is the traveler. And he's showing me Abbey Road with all of them walking on the path. He's saying it's the street, it's the men walking on the street, it's the motion that makes the men move, it is the eternal life force. And he's saying it's a God complex. He said, many of you think like, oh, it's a God complex. And he's like, well, it is everything. It's the eternal life force energy. So he's saying, so Yoko Ono reminded me of this perspective. She brought me back to my roots and helped me heal a lot of cultural conditioning. I did not know we were going to talk about this. He hasn't talked to me about Yoko Ono yet. So he's saying, helped me heal a lot of my cultural conditioning, and that came forth in my music. He was like, he's like, man, we were rocking out, jamming out. He's showing them like smoking a lot of weed, doing drugs, hot babes around. He's like, but it didn't matter. It was the camaraderie. It was the spirit. It was the spirit of life being brought forth into our music, into what we do. He said, in essence, looking back on it now, I realize now we didn't need any mind-altering substances, because that creative life force energy was there. Like it was like flowing through them, and he's showing the energy like coming down into their head and then emanating from their heart and then out into their hands, and then them writing the music or playing. And so he's saying, we just played the day away. We played the day away, which is a phrase that I love too. He's saying we played the day away, and it was, and he said right away the music changed, and it was because Yoko Ono's presence brought forth a new peace and prosperity into our gang, into the gang. The crew of mates changed rather quickly. Our essence, he's saying, like he's showing like the energy, he's showing them all sitting around playing and just talking and chatting, and the energy around them just shifting and moving, and the colors and the patterns of it changing. Like they were impacted by her presence. She like emitted wavelengths of peace. He's saying not many understood this about her. She was a peaceful protester, so a peaceful comrade for them. So peace in the process is the main thing, because this art and soul, this music is your life. It really is your life. So you're writing the song, and you're also playing the song, and you're also the guitar that's being played. You're all of the parts of the puzzle. So it's very much about allowing your youthful, rebellious side to come out, and to be seen and heard and felt, and to understand that you can create a new system. You can create a new way. You can follow the joy within, and often that is rebellious in our society. So a lot of people would think of them as kind of rebellious, rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but that's not, it wasn't about hurting anyone. It was very much about helping everyone. He was just saying, my death was not known to me consciously at that time, but I felt it coming. He felt like an end kind of coming forward. But it's not the end. Obviously, it's not the end. He said that even that is a rebellious thought. In these times in the Western world, though, in Eastern religion and in some Western religion, this thought has been informed for thousands and thousands of years. Buddhism, Hinduism, Eastern religions have practiced this thought for lifetimes. He's like lifetimes and lifetimes. It's like questions? Questions, anyone? Questions? Oh, cool. You were just listening to some of his songs, Candy. That's fun. I'll wait for a second until I see some questions. And I'm gonna check the Intentional Intuitive Entrepreneur group. So if you guys have questions, pop them in the comments section. This stuff about Yoko Ono, I really didn't know about much of this. This is really neat. I'm not seeing anything. Hey, Patty. Oh. He's saying, thank you very much, madam. I was having trouble at the beginning. I don't know if some of you guys who were on earlier, I was hearing him speaking in a very British vocabulary, vernacular, and I was just like, oh God, I can't. So if you notice the vernacular shift, it's because he started to, instead of give me verbatim, he started to do claircognizance so I could understand. So that's why the vernacular changed, because it was like he still threw in some words like tossers, which I don't even like think of using that word. But some of the stuff that was coming up, I was like, I can't, like, the phrases coming in, I was like, whoa. You know, it was so, because, you know, I'm not British. So, like, the vernacular and the slang and stuff, I was like, shit. I was getting overwhelmed. That's why it kind of shifted gears, and he started to come through and use a little more of my vocabulary than his vocabulary. Because I was like I couldn't get it to come out all the way. Okay, what's next for us? What does he have to say about creation and love and play and where our world is heading regarding those things? Oh, he just went, this is so cool, Jackie. I'm so glad you brought this up, because he just goes, ooh, he puts down his joint. He puts down his joint in the ashtray, and he's just like he's like rubbing his hands together. He goes, okay. New earth, new world is coming. A new golden age is upon us. And the A team's over here too. They're kind of lending a hand with translation, I guess you could say. He's saying peace will reign. They're saying peace will reign supreme on earth, but it's very much in process right now. It's very much in process, and peace is not just about peaceful coexistence between us and them. Peace is about inner peace, cultivating an environment of inner peace. They're saying, which you should understand as well as Allie, because we both have had anxiety issues a lot. And mine's pretty much mostly gone, but I still have little things where they come and coach me, or I reach out to friends or whatever. It's really rare now though. But they're saying peace shows up in the world when you cultivate inner peace. So the new golden era that's about to be reborn, they're like, you're very much still in a dark age right now, which is what actually Megan Covington and I talked about earlier today. They're like, you're still kind of in a dark age right now. That's why there's so much war and violence and crime. They were like, the crime in America is atrocious, and most of it's unreported. Like the news and the statistics don't even cover all of it. They're saying, but peace will reign supreme. It's just a matter of time. So, but they're saying cultivating an inner world of peace, as John Lennon and Gandhi, as many beings, you know, Yogananda, people like that, where we say, well, you're just spiritually bypassing. You know what I mean? Like, how can you just ignore, you know, all this stuff? And they're like, well, you cultivate such an inner universe of peace that you literally don't see what normally would offend you or upset you or make you angry or whatever would make you react. You don't even experience it the same way. You don't hold grudges anymore. You don't experience pain the same way. You literally begin to shift pain out of your body. I've experienced this before. You literally begin to self-heal, like illnesses and things like that, because your mind is healing, because your perception is healing, your perception is changing. And the more you cultivate a being of inner peace, imagine, because everything is energy, imagine if everyone was feeling that. They're saying everyone because we're all one, right? So they're like, imagine if everyone was doing that, would there be, if people who are in peace, do they create wars? Do they hurt people? Do they steal things? No, they don't. They just share things. They love each other. They take care of each other. They don't need to take anything from each other. They understand everything's within, and they walk around loving the fuck out of life and out of each other. So there's no more wars. There's no poverty. There's no lack. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of community. a lot of collaboration because it's higher frequency existence. So taking care of your inner world is very important to create cultivating an outer world of peace. So there is movement towards that we're all seeing, you know, like little things like tree planting campaigns, community gardens, taking care of the earth, like things like that. But it's all about the intention with which you do the things. Is it a fear focus, like, oh my God, things are going to get bad? Because that just lends more negative vibration into it and can thwart the efforts. But if it's in a loving, trusting, it would seem almost counterintuitive to the ego, right? Because we've been taught to like rebel and do things and to shake things up in kind of a loud way. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It can be very private. It can be very public. There's no wrong way to do it. It's just about like the heart of the intention. Literally, Jackie, literally, because energy scientifically, not just spiritually, it's not just a spiritual theory, you guys, this is scientific. Energy is everything, literally everything. Metaphysics, quantum physics, energy is literally everything. So if you think about it that way, if you maintain a vibration, and everything is vibration, science. So if you maintain a vibration of peace, right, that vibration is literally emanating and impacting everything and everyone around you. So it does help. And think about it in the physical world. If you're in a vibration of peace and joy, and then you take action from that vibration, the actions that you take change. Because look at someone who's angry, who takes action out of anger, or resentful, who takes action out of resent. They make very different choices, right? And they take very different types of actions. Or I see this in business. You can tell when someone's operating out of fear, and I can tell in their posts immediately. Even if their post is like boasting about something or talking about a mindset thing that they've overcome. I'm like, you haven't overcome that. I can see it. I can feel it in your post. You know, I can feel it in there. So it's very much about no more grandstanding, no more being pedestaling. And so for the entrepreneurial industry, it's going to be very much, and for leadership in general, it's going to be very much about vulnerability and sharing and allowing. They're saying like emotional intelligence, changing the educational system. There's a lot, like when you ask about the future, this is so on point because there's a lot to say about the future of things. But it you know, in non-linear time, it's really about us co-creating from where we are and allowing peace and prosperity because we're only right here, right now, right now, right now. How are you letting yourself feel right now? What are you doing for you right now? And so sometimes it's going to be walking away from the laptop, even though you're like, oh, I have more to do, I have more to do, I have more to do, oh my God, and going outside, or taking your laptop, taking your phone and going outside, or just saying, fuck that shit, putting it aside and taking a book and going and sitting on a patio at a place where you can be out in the sun doing something nurturing for you, going to yoga, or they had me stopping and stretching, and they're having me, you know, drink lemon water and do things that are really nice for myself. And when I do things like when I have a glass of wine, even though I'm like, oh, this could lower my vibration, you know, it's very much about them coming in. They'll go, well, why are you judging yourself for having a glass of wine? What if you just found peace in that experience? That's why my whole brand life is rooted in authenticity, vulnerability, realness. Yes, and they're saying, but remember the energy that goes into that root, okay? So like really think about that, and I can message you more what they're saying after this because it feels kind of private. Like an expansiveness. Where to begin on cultivating that level of inner peace? They're saying working on your fucking mind and stop strategizing. They're saying this for a lot of entrepreneurs. When things feel like they need to be fixed, you want to make more money, you want to sign up more clients, you want to grow this, grow that, start working on your inner world more than trying to strategize your outer business bullshit, because you don't get the results you want only from that. A lot of people try to fix by over strategizing and doing more and doing more. Okay, well, I'm gonna strategize how to make more money. They're like, start in your fucking self. Like a lot, and that's for everyone. Like vibrational stuff matters because you can feel it in people's strategies and in their work. That's why a lot of business owners boast about strategy and their strategies don't work, you know? So it's very, very, yeah. They're like, when you're in strategy mode, you're in ego. So they're saying, you've been conditioned to want this. Like, I still have times, like this morning I was like, ooh, I want to plan more live streams. And they were like, how about you chill the fuck out and let us guide you? Okay, because when we plan stuff, it goes well. And when your ego tries to take the reins and plan stuff, it doesn't go well. I'm like, okay, yeah, good point. So it's very much about like trusting intuition and intuitively and lovingly taking action out of joy. If you don't like speak to guides, right? It's the frequency of joy. It's like when you're like, oh my God, that's a good idea. Oh, and you get all excited and you literally want to sing out loud like that, like yodeling. That's, okay, go act on that. That's a way that they'll communicate with you. Not just them, but they are us and we are them. So it's like your spirit, your source is communicating with you. So that can help. But when you're trying to strategize or plan a launch, they're like, do you know how many launches are going really badly behind the scenes and no one's talking about it? Because everyone's trying to over plan and over strategize, not letting their intuition lead the way and guide them into what feels good. Because that energy going into, say, a launch of a book or writing of a book, all that stuff, like, it's about the energy and the joy of the process. That is what emanates, and people feel that and they experience that in your work. They experience it. Think about it with parenting. Trying to pick schools. We're trying to pick schools for Finn next year. And I was like, why aren't we just going with what freaking feels good and letting go of like all the things we think need to happen here? Why don't we just let go and we will know exactly what he needs to grow? And it just so turns out that his current school is perfect. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to worry about this. And then all these other potential options for kindergarten, which is the next year after next year, 2 years, like just started to fall into my lap because I was like, just guide me, guide me, guide me. I don't want to put him in a regular public school. Guide me. And all of a sudden, all these alternative schools started to fall into my lap. And they were like, now, without you saying I don't want to do public school, can you trust that Finn will be okay no matter what, Allie? And I was like, okay, right, I wasn't trusting. And they were like, he'll be fine no matter what school he's in. But here we go. We'll get you some suggestions because we do know what Finn's soul is saying to us he wants, which is this and this and this. And then Finn's teachers freaking said the same thing to me without me asking them. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is amazing. So it looks like more of an alternative creative outdoor thing is better for him anyways, which is what my intuition had been telling me, but then his teachers validated and the team said, you gotta trust, right? So it's very much about trusting and not controlling. That's just another example. It's not necessarily no strategy at all. It's looking at where, first of all, not future projecting, two, knowing that spirit works in the moment and energy shifts. And if you're in strategy and you're rooted in, it's gotta be this way or it won't be this result, then you're being too attached to the how, and the energy around that is gonna be fearful and frantic instead of feel good. So it's a very different energy. Yeah, and our egos are like, I want this, 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 this right now. And they're like, the ego will never know what you actually want. Never, never. Because it operates out of fear and separation and lack. Yay, I'm glad you could catch it, Bonnie. Energy shift is an inside job. Yes, it's very much about understanding vibration and understanding. And a lot of people will even say, oh my gosh, well, you know, I'm this other person's energy and yada, yada. I'm like, no. Your reaction to all energy. It's all the same energy. This is about your response. What's going on for you. That's all you got. That's all there is. It's all the one energy. When you clean up your side of the street, you realize you clean up both sides, right? Like everyone's energy, everyone, because it's all one, starts to change and shift. Yeah. Does he send messages to songwriters now? Nope. Straight nope. I don't do much with songwriting anymore or musical instruments anymore. He said he's more immersed in the artistic world right now, artistic talent, being born. He's calling crystal children. If you guys have heard of like indigo crystal rainbow, he's doing a lot of guidance around them, keeping their artful practices alive. So letting life be art, but like he's showing really, like I was asking him if this is literal, and he's like, yes, painting, staying immersed in creativity. It feels like he's kind of more in that realm, like telling them to play the day away, that they can't get it wrong, that type of stuff. keeping the artful youth alive in many beings. It feels like he's saying crystal and indigo children are on this route already. I saw him and the 18 talking at the same time. I was like, are you guys all here at the same time? They're like, yeah. So it's like they're like helping those groups of kids, like they're already doing it, but there's a lot of pushback from traditional society, which says, no, you need to be in this box, you need to follow these rules, you need to do these conditions. First you do this, then you go to college, then you get this degree, and then you go get a job, and then, you know what I mean? And then you go get married to someone who you love kind of, and then you maybe have some kids, and then you just figure shit out, and you just, you know what I mean? Like, and you get a retirement plan. Like, he's like, oh, they're going up. Retirement plans are things of the past. You guys know that already. So they're saying, so it's about, I'm hearing stuff about big box stores, like they're just keep going. They're saying there's going to be a lot of return to, it feels like the sanctity of life, like the spirit of life, the sacredness and the art of life. Like, so keeping artistic and creative juices flowing, keeping artistic talent alive, and not telling kids to only focus on math and science, but it feels like a convergence of the two. Like, because math and science can actually be very creative. We're seeing this with Finn, but it's very much about the creativity in all areas being kept alive, and that part of the child's mind being nurtured, and also their emotional intelligence being nurtured. So he's saying he's like got a big crew. I'm on a team that works with the youth of America and the Western civilizations in particular, because he's going like this. They're like, the government is controlling the educational system, and they're just squashing the youth out of these kids. Like, they're just like pounding it out of them, like taking away art classes and music and recess. I get a lot of messages about this stuff too. So if you've heard me mention this before, he's just like reiterating it. So it's coming to fruition, is what the team is saying. That we'll see a lot of these kids kind of rebel against these school systems that have been put in place. So we'll see more of this calling for art and leisure, like kids having time to themselves, not being over-programmed and stuff, having more play. Like, and I am seeing that, like in Denver, there's a lot of progressive schools where there's a lot more outdoor play and stuff, and learning through outdoor play. So he's saying he's kind of more in the artistic talent side of it. Oh, that's beautiful, Candy. I love that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling that way too. Were there any questions that I missed, you guys? I've got a couple minutes, but... Oh, a hammock. Oh my gosh, I have images in my head of me in a hammock all the time. All the time. I find myself giving a lot of adults the message to play as well. Me too. Do you see and hang out with George Harrison? He said he was one of the tossers he was talking about. He's my mate. So can you give me some insight? He just says something like, bygones be bygones. Water under the bridge. Like, they're just like... And I just heard, hello, old chap. Really, like, playing up. Can you give some insight into this? When I know things that are about to happen, there are always something that isn't good. Like, I dreamt the kids in school where a fire broke out in Jersey, and I woke up and my husband had the news on, and there it was. Well, this is the 18, and they're saying your precognizance is quite strong, Sky. So it's about discernment. Do I believe I'm meant to change events? Or do I believe I'm meant to know these things for a reason other than understanding my own place and purpose and my own perception shifts? They're saying like there's a shift in perception that's needed for you. That will be helpful in terms of keeping these gifts alive and not pushing them back, because there will be times when you'll be guided to do something, although it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like preventing anything bad, although it could be. Like it feels more like that you're guided to take action in a loving way, for a loving outcome for things. So they're saying, you know, more and more of the collective is awakening to its own collectiveness, to its own consciousness. It's like consciousness becoming aware of itself, which is really cool. So what's happening is more and more people are having precognizance. They're saying women especially. Men have it, aren't talking about it. Talking about intuition for men is fluffy stuff. It's too emotional, you know. But there are more men. And I do work with men, so if you guys have husbands or sons or anything. So it's really about shifting your perception of death, first of all, because you're getting stuff around death or injuries. What is death to me? Do I believe in eternal life? Is it safe for me to have this gift? Like questions like that to dig into, and then to start to decide, do I want to have a mentor to help me with my mind, to help me explore this gift more, development more, or do I want to mentor myself and, you know, continue to just let this unfold? Is there any messages on how I can handle my youngest school options? Outdoor play for the youngest one. Lots of grounding around Mother Earth. The more he can be around Mother Earth, the better. Playing in the rain, getting his galoshes on, going and jumping in puddles. They're showing a kid barefoot running through the grass, like in the fields, getting trips, road trips, trips to the mountains, trips to the lake, trips to the beach, anywhere that you